Welcome back to our podcast. My name's Sarah and I'm with AI Solutions, and I'm here in the room with my partners, Brody and Olivia. So the last 3 episodes that we covered, just a quick recap. One of those was interview preparation and questions. Second was the interview etiquette. And the third was covering salary negotiations. I highly recommend that you go back and listen to those. And they can be found anywhere on our social media platforms at AI Solutions, as well as anywhere that you get your podcasts. Now, moving forward, this episode is called Your Future on Paper, where we cover building a resume. We have one more episode following this, so please stay tuned. And that will be a recap of our 2023 intern process. So you might be thinking this is kind of, backwards. This should be covered first, but what good are all of the things that we've already covered for you if you don't have a good resume? And we believe that understanding those steps in that process helps you finalize kind of what you want to include and what's important to see on a resume. So this is the knock at the door, the foot in the door, just the very first step and first impression of who you might be from the recruiter and the manager. It can be a stressful time as an intern because, it could be your first resume. It could be that you don't have a ton of things to put on there, or you just may not know what to include and what not to include. That is okay. We're going to talk about how to handle that, what we think needs to be listed, and some helpful tips and tricks.
Yeah, so building a strong resume for an internship is essentially, you're wanting to showcase your skills, your experience, and potential value to prospective employers. So we're going to give you basically a step-by-step guide on how to create an effective internship resume.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the first things, top of the resume is your contact information. I know it seems silly, but sometimes people get caught up so much so in the details and projects and things like that they forget their last name or their first name, or they don't put a phone number or an email address, or the email address that they include is something silly like basketball girl XOXO 32
big
at
boy.
AOL. Yeah, big Bama boy, as Brody's email probably is at Gmail. Hit him up. No, but you want to include those things because we need to be able to contact you. You want everyone to have visibility to that. You don't need to put your home address. You don't need to put, specifically like your zip code, whatever the case may be, but it doesn't hurt to also include, if you're here in Huntsville, put Huntsville, Alabama if you want to include a location. Again, you do not have to, but could be good. Another thing on here is if you have a LinkedIn profile, which we'll talk about a little bit further down, feel free to include that link as well. Make sure that your email address is correct. We've also dealt with this where an email address or a phone number will have, a symbol missing or a number or a letter. And that is super important because unfortunately, if we can't get in contact with you, we won't be able to move forward with you. And it kind of just cuts you off there. Another thing with contact information I think I speak for my whole team here and also for my company, you do not need to put a picture on your resume.
Why not, Sarah? I love pictures.
I don't. Anyways.
No, I'm kidding.
No, seriously, you don't need to do that. No one needs to necessarily know what you look like. It's not necessary. It might be a great picture and you just might like it. Make it your LinkedIn profile picture. If you're including that link and you have that picture on there, we'll see it there.
Sarah, tell them what recruiters do when you get resumes with pictures on them. What do you do a lot? Don't you share them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we send them around each other. Like, look at this person. It's funny. Like, who does this? That's what happens. That's the truth.
It is. And that for some, maybe certain industries that's acceptable, but from, where we are and what we've done and what we've recruited for however long our careers have been so far, don't need a picture.
Yep.
Don't do it.
Yep.
So next step, kind of right under that contact info, you could include a brief objective or summary, but make sure it's not super long. This is just to highlight your career goals and what you can bring to the internship or role. So just keep it concise and tailored to the specific internship. No one cares or wants to read a huge long thing.
Yeah, you're just saying this is what I've done or this is what I'm seeking to do, right? Kind of like that elevator speech we had talked about in a previous episode. That's what you're doing here. So nothing too deep. All right, education, we always want to list that on a resume. So you're obviously going to list your current or most recent education, you're going to put that first, right? So if you've got a master's degree, that's what you put at the top. You don't put bachelor's and then master's or PhD. Whatever, you want to put your most recent one up top. Just include your degree, the major, the graduation date, or expected if you're an intern, right? Because you haven't graduated, put your expected date. That lets us know what year you are, if we're dealing with a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And then you'd also list any relevant honors or achievements you've had through that. You can also, at this stage, again, guys, you're interns, so you don't have 20 years of experience to list, right? So you can put relevant coursework. That's actually important, right? So when we're looking for somebody for a job, if they've taken a software engineering class or an electrical engineering, you can list things you've done in those. That's a good place to list it. And then if you lack extensive work experience, consider listing like relevant coursework that you've done just to show your academic strength. So again, if you've never done an internship and you're like, I just don't know what to do, really honestly lay out your class schedule of the classes that are relevant to what you're trying to do and list what you're studying in those classes. Like put the class and put the bullets of what you're doing. Again, it's okay. I think Sarah said this at the beginning, like it can be intimidating making your first resume when you haven't had a real job, right? So don't feel bad. A lot of people in the same boat with this one. Just list skills and classroom experience you have towards the internship you're looking to get.
Yeah. And also any projects you've done, even if it wasn't like a big senior design project or capstone, anything like that. If you did a group project or a research project, anything like that when going for an internship is relevant and they want to know about it. Another thing that you can include, especially for internships, is skills. So this is a section, that some people choose to opt out of their resume the further they get into their career, and that's fine. This is kind of an optional one, but again, as someone going into an internship, maybe you don't have a ton of experience or a ton of projects, this is a great thing to include. When I say skills, I don't just mean don't do a bulleted list, teamwork, leadership, communication, whatever. No, put anything relevant to the internship. That doesn't mean don't include soft skills. Do include those. But include your technical ones as well. Put your C++ or, your Java, anything that you think sets you apart as a skill, include it. Tailor it to match the requirements of the internship. Like if they are looking for someone that says, hey, we really require great communication and someone that understands C++ and knows how to make, a certain type of presentation, PowerPoint, whatever the case may be, include that and include, maybe an example of why you're good at that or just, why you're adding it.
Okay. So now let's step back and look what we got so far. We got our contact information at the top. We've got our objective or summary right underneath it, telling them, what we're trying to do. Then we've listed our education. And like Sarah just said, the skills that you've got. All right. So then we're going to get down to work experience. And again, kind of echoing what I just said a few minutes back about you may not have a lot again, because you're an intern, right? So I think you've got more than what you think you actually have though. So include, if you've done an internship or actually had a job, list that, but also list jobs, like part-time jobs. Like if you can use anything, there's things you can show from a part-time job that's not even the same skill set as a job you're interviewing for, to show that you've, managed a team, or just the dedication to come into a job and show up. And, I don't care if it's fast food restaurants or working in a warehouse, like it just shows that you have a work ethic, and that is good to show. So don't feel like, oh no, I'm trying to get this technical internship and I don't have any experience there. That's okay. Show your part-time experience. Even volunteer stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I think it also goes to show when you're listing your part-time jobs, they may not be relevant to the degree that you're pursuing or the internship that you want, but it also can show, if it overlaps with your schooling, that you can multitask, that you can manage these things while also going to school full-time or whatever the case may be. And to touch on the volunteer positions, if you're in a fraternity or sorority, a lot of times people, require you to go do a certain amount of volunteer hours a semester. Include that stuff.
And include how many beers can you drink?
100%.
At that fraternity.
How many kegs you finished?
Yes, that is a great, no, okay, obviously we're kidding. All right.
Please don't do that.
So again, enlist any work. So when you list your work experience or a part-time job or volunteer, whatever you do, underneath, have a good bold heading of what that was, when you did it from, the dates, and then have bullets underneath that to describe what you did there, like what the achievements were, what your roles, responsibilities were. It's not, honestly, again, this is a part I think that freaks people out. I don't have anything. If you've got something, just put some bullets, list it. They're just looking to see what you've done, what you spend your time doing. Yep. So that's it.
Yep. The next one, I feel like it's kind of optional, but extracurricular activities. This is kind of more for the internship since you don't have too much work experience. So here you can include any clubs, organizations, or leadership roles that you've done in the past. And this is to help demonstrate your ability to kind of work in a team and showcase those leadership skills and other skills you might have learned doing these activities.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like mentioning like the fraternity, sorority, any other types of clubs that you were in, any volunteer positions, if you were a chair on any type of committee, include those things. They may seem like not relevant, but it's helpful to have for sure.
Yeah, you got to have something on the paper too.
Yeah,
I'm being serious.
Put it all. Just put it all.
You can't just have your contact info and then your objective is please God help me. Like you've got to have something there. So
it'll get attention that way, but wouldn't recommend it.
That's true. All right, so this one may sound simple, but formatting tips. So keep your resume clean and easy to read with a professional font. So don't have script, or, some weird, I don't know, font
some
names.
Weird cursive.
Like curly font.
Yeah, curly font, anything.
Comic Sans.
Keep it normal. Keep a normal font that's easy to read. Use bullet points, as I mentioned before, for clarity, like just keeping it in line. Keep the resume to one page, especially for internships, guys. Like y'all don't have that much stuff, right? Mm-hmm. There's people that have 30 years of experience in our industry and they can keep their resume to one page. Mm-hmm. It's not like the end of the world if one goes over two, and this is kind of as you get farther along in your career, it's okay. But just nobody wants to, again, I'm like old, like we used to have to print resumes and like staple them together and stuff. We're not doing that anymore, but you should be managers, honestly, here's the truth. Managers and recruiters don't want to read 8 pages. Like
nobody got time for that.
No. And sometimes we get resumes that are 14, 15 pages long. You're like, this is ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
If you're listening to what we're saying, highlights of what you've done, speak to your skills, speak to your certifications, those highlights, that's all people want to see. And then what we're going to do? We're going to talk to you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's where it's going. We don't need to read 18 pages. And the other thing I would say about this with formatting is I'll just be honest. My resume is pretty bland. It's just black and white. It's pretty just, here's these sections, good. That's me. That's kind of my personality, I think. Don't go crazy though. Some people have blue on this side, like a red water font in the background. It needs to be professional. I'm not saying you can't add some type of template or formatting to it that's a little bit unique, but don't make it look clownish. I think that's the best way to put it.
And I think a huge point to that is, again, remember y'all, we're a defense contractor. We're hiring a lot of engineers. That's primarily what we're doing. So if you are going for a more creative role, if it's something that you're majoring in art and you're doing some kind of design, okay, then yes, tailor your resume to that. But just overall general rules as well as specifically to our company, majority of that stuff is not needed, nor is it really paid attention to. So don't waste your time.
Yep. So kind of piggybacking off of Sarah, our next point was to tailor for each application. So make sure you kind of customize and tweak some things for each internship, and making sure what they're looking for matches what's on your resume. There's nothing that doesn't need to be on there. And also make sure to proofread to ensure there's no typos or grammatical
You got it.
Grammatical errors.
There you go.
A polished resume reflects on you and your attention to detail. So if you're being lazy with your resume, the interviewer is probably going to think you're going to be lazy.
Yeah.
With your job,
all right. So let me jump in on this. So kind of like a peek behind the curtain of what recruiters do. So we get job descriptions from a manager and we look at those, they might have 10 bullets, they might have 20 of things they're looking for, right? One of the things we do, we call them intake calls. We talk to our managers and we say, okay, you've given me 20 things. What are the 4 to 5 things that you have to see on this resume that you really want me to find for you when we're running our searches, right? So, So if there are, you know, because Olivia just said to tailor your application or your resume towards that job, right? So look at the actual job description and read those bullets. And if there's anything, one of those bullets that you've remotely done before, include that in your bullet, right? Because as we're looking at the resume, we're like, there's that. That's the bullet. That's an exact, you know, on your resume. If I've got the resume side by side with the job description side by side, you're picking bullets and lines saying, look, those match up. Those are the ones you submit. Those are the ones that stand out to the managers the most. So if you have the opportunity where you've done anything listed in the job description, incorporate that into your job or into your resume. So,
And another thing, which I mentioned earlier on contact information for LinkedIn profile. So we have a bullet on here for that because we do think if you have a professional LinkedIn profile, use the URL, link that, because as recruiters, I would probably say that LinkedIn is one of our number one sites that we use to recruit on. Like that's where we're searching for people. Not that you have to have every single piece of your resume on your profile on LinkedIn, but keep it up to date. Have a professional picture. If you don't have a picture, make sure that you have relevant information as far as, you know, your education, a lot of things that you would already be covering within the first part. So that's optional, but again, I highly recommend it. And it also ensures that you're keeping your profile up to date and that everything's aligning.
Yeah. So, let's see. So then the last thing we're going to talk about is basically sharing feedback. So ask mentors, professors, career advisors, for you snowflakes out there, your mama and daddy, just ask somebody to look it over and say, what do you think? Like, does this look good? You know, where could I tighten this up? What could I fix? It's always good to run over that stuff before you actually submit it into somebody. So make sure, I mean, I did that. I'm old, I'm in my 40s. And, before I sent my resume over for the role I'm in right now, I actually sent it to 2 people that I'm friends with. And I was like, what do you think? Like, should I change any of this? And I mean, you're going to do that throughout your career. So just remember, like, the goal is to present yourself as qualified and that you're motivated, right? So tailor your resume to the internship you're applying for and use it as a marketing tool to showcase what strengths and experiences you have. So,
because it's unique to you. Your resume is for you. You can use the same template as other people, but the information on there is just for you. So remember that. Be proud of that. Try to impress people, but also just, you know, take yourself seriously on it. Great. Well, that's really everything that we wanted to cover in this one. We really appreciate you listening and hope that it helps you in formatting your first resume or your next resume. And our next episode will be regarding our 2023 internship process, and we hope y'all tune in. Thanks
don't
so much.
forget, don't put pictures on your resumes. If
Brody,
you take anything from this
Brody
podcast.
is adamant, no pictures.
There you go. All right,
Bye,
later.
y'all.